Jesus, the day has dimmed, and I am here with you. At last, the sounds that followed me from morning until now are loosening their hold, yet they still hum beneath my skin. I feel them lingering, like a faint ringing after a bell has been struck. I am tired, Lord, not only in body, but in the hidden rooms of my mind. I come slowly, without hurry, without polished words, only this soft arrival, this small leaning of my soul toward you. The light in this room has softened to a low amber glow. It rests gently along the walls. No sharp edges, only warm hush. Outside, the sky has turned a deep and tender blue, and the last of the daylight slips away without protest. I feel the day slipping too, though some of it still clings to me. Like fine dust, like warmth that has not yet faded. I sit with you in this dimming hour, and I let my shoulders ease, just a little, just enough to know I am no longer carrying the daylight alone. Jesus! The noise was loud today. Voices overlapping, tasks calling, thoughts racing ahead of me. I moved through it all as best I could, sometimes steady, sometimes scattered. Now I am no longer moving, and the stillness feels almost unfamiliar, like stepping into a quiet chapel after standing in a crowded street. My ears almost strain for the usual rhythm of activity. But instead there is only this gentle hush, this widening calm, and you, waiting for me here. I do not rush this moment. I let it stretch. I let it breathe. The curtain beside the window stirs with the cool night air, a slow, steady motion, as if the room itself is sighing. I notice how the air feels softer now, how the world beyond these walls has lowered its voice. The distant sounds of evening fade into a kind of tender background murmur, and even that begins to dissolve. I feel my own breath settle into a slower pattern, not forced, simply natural, like waves smoothing along the shore. Lord, I am aware of how much I have carried since sunrise. Conversations that linger, decisions that pressed on me, expectations that pulled at my thoughts. I carried them because I felt I had to, and now I am not sure how to set them down, so I simply sit here with you and allow myself to be seen, fully, without explanation. You understand the weight without my listing it. You see the fine lines of strain I did not show anyone else. You were near me all day, even when I did not sense it, even when I forgot to look for you. I whisper your name again, Jesus, and it feels softer each time, like fabric brushing against skin, like a gentle hand resting over mine. I am not trying to fix anything right now. I am not trying to solve what remains unfinished. I am only coming closer, inch by inch, breath by breath. I know you do not ask me to strive in this hour. You offer rest for the weary. And tonight I admit that I am weary, in ways I did not acknowledge until now. The lamplight pools quietly on the floor, stretching long and golden. I watch how it barely flickers, steady, unwavering, and I think of your presence, constant, even when my thoughts flutter, even when my emotions sway. You do not waver, you remain. I feel the contrast between my restless inner world and your unchanging calm, and I am drawn toward that steadiness, like a traveler toward a quiet harbor after crossing restless water. Jesus, I am here, just me, in the quiet. I let the silence lengthen between my words. I let it fill the spaces where I usually rush to speak. I do not need to impress you. I do not need to explain the entire day. You were there in every meeting, every errand, every fleeting thought. You were beside me in moments I barely noticed, and even in the seconds when I felt alone. You remained close, closer than my own breath. The warmth from a cup I held earlier has long since left my hands. The memory of it lingers faintly. And I realize how much of today has already passed beyond reach. It cannot be relived. It cannot be undone. It has folded itself into memory, and now it is night. And you are inviting me to rest. I do not have to replay every scene. I do not have to defend or justify or revise. I can simply be here, held within your steady awareness. My thoughts slow, Not entirely, but enough to notice the change. They no longer rush in sharp lines. They soften at the edges, like clouds drifting apart after a storm. I sense how my body responds to this quiet. Muscles loosening, jaw unclenching, forehead smoothing. I did not realize how tightly I had been holding myself together, how firmly I had braced against the day. Now that it is over, I let that brace loosen. I let my posture soften. I let myself sink into this chair, into this hour, into your presence. Jesus, thank you for this gentle arrival. Thank you that I do not have to earn this peace. I do not have to prove that I deserve to sit here in stillness. You welcome me as I am, tired, slightly tangled inside, longing for quiet. You gather me without hesitation, without impatience. I feel that gathering now. Subtle, almost imperceptible, like arms that have always been around me, though I am only just becoming aware of them. Outside, a faint breeze moves through unseen leaves. I cannot see them, but I hear the soft rustle, a steady whisper through branches. It feels like the world itself is settling, every living thing finding its evening place. Birds tucked into hidden nests, streets growing dim, lights flickering off one by one. I join that quiet settling. I allow my own spirit to fold inward, not in isolation, but in trust, in refuge, in a quiet turning toward you. I think of how you watch over my sleep, how your care does not dim when my eyes close. I remember that rest itself is a gift from you, not an indulgence, not a weakness, but a sacred rhythm woven into my being. I have tried to outrun fatigue before, to press beyond my limits, but tonight I feel no need to prove endurance. I feel only the gentle permission to rest, to release the daylight, to step into the hush without resistance. Jesus, the noise has not vanished entirely. I can still sense its faint echo, but it no longer dominates this room. It no longer defines this moment. It is fading, gradually, like the last color draining from the horizon. I do not push it away. I simply sit closer to you, and in that closeness the noise loses its urgency. It grows distant, less sharp, less insistent. I realize that your nearness is not loud. It is not forceful. It is steady, low, calming. I am grateful that you are not overwhelmed by my inner chaos, that my scattered thoughts do not trouble you. You hold all things together, even when I feel slightly undone, and tonight I lean into that truth. You are my refuge in the night, my shelter when the world grows dim. I rest in the knowledge that I am not alone in this quiet room, that your presence fills the spaces I cannot see, that your love hums beneath the silence. Jesus, I am here, and I am beginning to feel the gentleness of this hour, the way it cradles the edges of my day, the way it invites me deeper. I do not rush ahead. I remain in this first soft layer of stillness, letting the last light fade, letting my thoughts slow, letting my spirit lean. The day has ended, and I have come to you, not with strength, but with surrender, not with answers, but with openness, and I remain here, quietly, with you, Jesus. As the evening deepens around me, I realize how gently you remained beside me through every crowded hour, even when I moved as though I were alone, even when I forgot to whisper your name. You did not step away. You did not withdraw your nearness. You stayed, steady, attentive, like a quiet companion walking just behind my shoulder. I think back over the day now, not to analyze it, not to relive it, but simply to notice your hidden faithfulness woven through it. There were moments when I felt hurried, slightly overwhelmed, voices rising around me, screens glowing, conversations overlapping, and yet beneath it all, there was a subtle steadiness I could not quite name. That was you, wasn't it, Lord? The calm current beneath the surface stir, the gentle presence that kept me from unraveling. When I felt unseen, you saw me. When I felt misunderstood, you understood the parts I could not explain. When I pressed forward with more effort than ease, You quietly carried what I did not even know I was carrying. I see it now, in this softer hour. How many times you shielded me from discouragement I never noticed. How often you steadied my tone, softened my reactions, guarded my steps. I move slowly through these memories, and gratitude begins to rise, warm, unforced, sincere. The sky outside has grown darker now, a velvet shade spreading wide and calm. One by one, small stars awaken above the roofline. Faint at first, then clearer as the light fades. I watch their quiet appearing, and I sense how your care appeared throughout my day in much the same way. Not always dramatic, not always bright, but constant. Sure, patient. You were there in subtle mercies, in delays that protected me, in words that soothed instead of stung, in strength that came just when I needed it. Jesus, I did not always acknowledge you today. I moved quickly. I answered messages. I solved small problems. I made decisions, and sometimes I leaned only on my own understanding. Yet even then, you did not distance yourself. You remained near, closer than I realized. Your nearness does not depend on my awareness. Your love does not rise and fall with my attention. It simply is, faithful, enduring, unwavering. I remember moments when tension tightened inside me, when frustration flickered like a brief spark, when impatience brushed against my thoughts, and still, you stayed. You did not scold. You did not withdraw. You waited gently, offering quiet correction, soft conviction, subtle guidance. I see now how many times I adjusted my words, softened my response, paused before speaking, because something within me urged restraint. That inner whisper, that gentle nudge, was your spirit, guiding without force, leading without noise. Lord, thank you for walking through the chaos without being disturbed by it. Thank you for holding steady when I felt scattered. Thank you for guarding my heart in ways I may never fully see. I sense now that there were unseen battles today, pressures I did not recognize, heaviness I might have absorbed more deeply if you had not shielded me. Your protection is often silent, but it is sure. And tonight I rest in the quiet knowledge that you carried more than I ever knew. The room feels softer now, the air cooler against my skin. The faint glow from outside has faded into a deep indigo hush. I notice how my heartbeat has slowed, how my breathing has lengthened. And I realize that this calm is not only physical, it is spiritual. It is the gentle settling of a soul that knows it has not walked alone, even when it felt alone. It is the relief of recognizing that your everlasting arms were beneath me all along, holding steady, unseen but certain. Jesus. There were times today when I doubted myself, when I questioned whether I was enough, whether I was doing enough, and yet you did not measure me by performance. You saw my intention, my effort, my quiet desire to do what is right. You looked beyond the surface of my actions and into the deeper place of my heart. And in that place, you remained kind. You remained patient. You remained near. I am grateful for the moments of small joy you tucked into the ordinary. A brief smile, a shared laugh, a kind word, a task completed. Those were gifts. Simple, steady reminders that goodness still flows through even the busiest day. I see them now like gentle lanterns lining a path I have already walked, soft lights marking your presence. I may not have paused long enough to fully savor them at the time, but they were there, and you were there, Lord. Even when I felt distant from you, you were not distant from me. Even when my mind was crowded with details, you were not crowded out. You moved quietly within the ordinary, like a calm melody beneath louder sounds, never demanding attention, never forcing recognition, simply remaining, constant, patient, loving. I feel a tender humility rise within me as I think of how often I rely on my own strength first, and only later remember to lean on you. Yet you do not resent that. You gently draw me back. You invite me again into closeness. not with disappointment, but with open arms. Your mercy renews itself with each new sunrise, and it carries me gently into each new night, never exhausted, never diminished. The night air brushes lightly against my cheek as I shift near the open window. Cool, smooth, refreshing. I sense that same freshness in this realization of your constant care. It is as though a quiet weight has lifted. The weight of believing I carried today alone. I did not. I never do. You are the one who watches over my going out and my coming in, who keeps vigil even when I am unaware, who guards my steps with a love that does not tire. Jesus, thank you for staying close in the unseen ways. Thank you for steadying my thoughts when they could have spiraled. Thank you for softening my tone when I might have spoken sharply. Thank you for strengthening me when my energy waned. Thank you for the countless mercies I have not yet recognized. I trust that they are many, more than I can number, more than I can fully comprehend. I feel a gentle warmth spreading through my chest as gratitude deepens, not a loud or overwhelming emotion, but a quiet assurance, a soft glow, like a single candle steady in a darkened room. I realize that peace greater than understanding has followed me all day. Not dramatic, not overwhelming, but steady, subtle, sustaining. It was there beneath the surface of my busyness, there in the spaces between tasks, there in the pauses I did not notice. Lord, I see now that you never left, not once, not even in the moments when I felt most hurried or unsure. You remained closer than my own thoughts, nearer than my next breath. I rest in that awareness tonight. I let it sink slowly into the places that still feel tense. I allow gratitude to soften the edges of this day, to smooth the sharp corners of memory, to bathe the lingering fragments of stress in quiet thankfulness. The stars above shine more clearly now, steady points of light against the vast night sky. I cannot see them all, but I know they are there, just as I cannot see all the ways you carried me today. Yet I know you did. I trust what I cannot fully measure. I lean into what I cannot fully see, and in that leaning, I feel a deeper calm settling over me. Jesus, you have been faithful through every hour, through noise and silence, through clarity and confusion, through strength and weariness. And now, as this day closes completely, I thank you, softly, sincerely, for never stepping away, for never growing distant, for staying so near, so constant, so quietly devoted. I remain here with you, in this gentle dark, gratitude slowly widening within me, like a calm horizon opening. I do not rush ahead. I let this thankfulness breathe. I let it settle into my bones. I let it quiet the last lingering tension. You were with me. You are with me. And you will be with me through this night, steady, watchful, loving. And I rest in that truth, peaceful, aware, held. Jesus, even as gratitude settles, I notice there is still a faint stirring within me, a subtle hum beneath the calm. The day may be over, yet fragments of it continue to echo softly inside my mind, like distant murmurs in a wide hall long after the crowd is gone. I sit with you and gently become aware of that inner sound, not resisting it, not amplifying it, simply noticing. The room has grown quieter still. The small household sounds that lingered earlier have faded into near silence. Even the walls seem to rest. The only steady rhythm I sense is the quiet movement of my own breathing. Slow, measured, almost delicate. Yet inside, there are thoughts still moving, light flickers of unfinished reflection, bits of conversation replaying, subtle questions rising and dissolving. Lord, my mind has been active for so many hours. It does not switch off at once. It unwinds slowly, like a spool of thread gently turning until it finds stillness. I can feel that turning now, not frantic, not sharp, just steady. I notice how one thought leads into another, how memory brushes against emotion, how small details return as though asking to be seen again. There are sentences I wish I had spoken differently, Tones I replay in softer versions. Small decisions I reconsider in hindsight. They move quietly across my awareness, not as accusations, but as gentle ripples. I bring them into this space with you. Without fear, without shame, I allow them to rest in the light of your presence, and already they seem less heavy. Jesus, sometimes the loudest noise is not outside, but within. The constant evaluation, the subtle analysis, the quiet measuring of how I moved through the day. I recognize that inner commentary now. It speaks in soft but persistent tones, and I realize how accustomed I have become to its presence. It hums even when everything else is still. The ceiling above me is dim and calm, shadows resting in corners where light once reached. I let my gaze soften. I do not focus on any single shape. I simply allow my eyes to rest, and as I do, I sense my thoughts doing the same, not gripping, not striving, just floating gently in awareness, like fine dust illuminated briefly before settling. Lord, I bring the mental chatter to you, the subtle running dialogue, the rehearsed conversations, the imagined responses, the planning for tomorrow. I notice how quickly my mind tries to move ahead, to anticipate what is not yet here. I gently return to this hour, this room, this presence. You are here, and this moment is enough. I hear a faint hum from somewhere beyond the walls, perhaps a distant appliance, perhaps a faraway vehicle passing. It is low and continuous, not intrusive, simply present. And it mirrors the low hum inside my own thoughts, not loud, but persistent. I do not resist it. I simply sit with you and allow your nearness to be louder than the hum, though it is not a sound. It is a steadiness, a quiet anchoring. Jesus. I feel the emotional static too, the subtle residue of interaction, tiny tensions that linger in my chest, slight hesitations that never fully resolved. I carry impressions from the day like faint fingerprints on glass, barely visible, yet there. I lift them gently toward you, not analyzing each one, simply acknowledging their presence. There was that moment of uncertainty, that brief misunderstanding, that quiet pressure to respond quickly. They left small traces, not wounds, but impressions. I see them now as thin threads woven through my awareness, and I ask you to sit with me as I observe them without fear. You are not overwhelmed by my complexity. You are patient with my process. The night outside has grown deeper, a wide stillness stretching across the sky. The earlier breeze has softened, and now there is a settled calm beyond the window. I sense that same calm slowly reaching inward, like a gentle tide moving across sand, covering the scattered footprints of thought, not erasing memory, but smoothing its edges. Lord, sometimes I try to quiet my mind by force, to command silence, to push away every lingering idea. But tonight I do not push, I simply notice. And in noticing with you, the urgency fades, the need to control diminishes. I allow the thoughts to drift at their own pace, and I remain steady, seated in your presence. I sense how my forehead relaxes, how the space behind my eyes feels less strained. Even my jaw eases. I did not realize how much tension gathered there throughout the day. The simple act of sitting here, acknowledging the inner hum, allowing you into it, has begun to soften something deeper, something quieter. Jesus, you understand the mind you created. You know its pathways, its patterns, its habits of motion. You are not frustrated by its activity. You are gentle with its pace. I trust that even when my thoughts swirl, you remain still, and that stillness gradually invites mine to settle. There are small worries still circling, not urgent, not sharp, just present. Questions about tomorrow, about tasks yet to begin, about conversations yet to unfold. I bring them into the soft light of this hour. I do not attempt to solve them now. I simply place them near you, within reach of your wisdom, within the shelter of your care. The air feels slightly cooler now, brushing against my arms with a delicate touch. I draw a blanket lightly over my lap, and as the fabric settles, I feel an echo of that settling inside, layers resting over one another, warmth gathering, movement slowing. The external quiet begins to mirror the internal quiet, not perfectly, but progressively, Lord. The mental noise is losing its edge. It no longer feels sharp or pressing. It is more like a distant murmur, barely distinguishable. I realize that peace does not always arrive suddenly. Sometimes it seeps gently into the corners of awareness, gradually, patiently, until the mind recognizes it has nothing left to resist. I feel the subtle shift now. Thoughts still present, yet softer, less defined, as though their outlines are dissolving. I do not chase them. I do not cling to them. I simply allow them to pass through the spaciousness of this quiet hour, and I remain anchored in you, steady, calm, attentive. Jesus, I am grateful that you sit with me in this inner noticing, that you do not rush me toward instant stillness, that you allow the process of unwinding to unfold naturally. Your patience with my pace feels like a gentle embrace, not tight, not forceful, just steady, reassuring. The room feels almost weightless now, as though even the air has softened. I listen, and there is almost nothing to hear, only the faint rhythm of my own breath, the quiet presence of the night, and beneath it all, your steady nearness, deeper than thought, quieter than sound. I remain here, noticing the last faint echoes within, trusting that they too will settle, trusting that as I continue to rest in you, the inner hum will soften further, and the space within me will widen, becoming calm, becoming clear, becoming still. Jesus, as I sit longer in this softened stillness, I begin to notice more clearly the heavier strands woven through today, not just the surface thoughts, but the louder currents that moved beneath them. I feel them now as deeper vibrations, the worries that pressed harder, the frustrations that rose more sharply, the moments that tightened my chest before I even understood why. I turn gently toward them with you beside me. I do not flinch. I do not retreat. I allow them to be seen in this quiet room, where nothing needs to be hidden, nothing needs to be defended. There was concern, Lord, about responsibilities I carry, about whether I will meet expectations that feel larger than my strength. I felt that pressure earlier like a firm weight across my shoulders. Even now I can sense its memory, the way it urged me to move faster, to strive harder, to prove myself capable. I bring that weight into this hush, and I name it softly: concern, expectation, pressure. There was frustration too, subtle at first, then sharper in certain moments, when plans shifted, when responses disappointed, when outcomes did not unfold as I had hoped. I felt the heat of it rise briefly within me, a flash of resistance, a tightening of breath. I see it now, clearer in the quiet, and I acknowledge it without shame. Frustration, disappointment, resistance. Jesus, there was also conflict, not always spoken, sometimes only internal, when my desires pulled one way and my obligations pulled another, when my heart longed for rest but my schedule demanded motion. I felt divided, stretched, uncertain which voice to follow. That tension lingered beneath the surface of the day, and I feel its echo still, a faint tug in opposite directions. I notice worry about the future, small questions that gathered into larger ones. What if this does not work? What if I fall short? What if something unexpected arises? Those questions carried a sharper tone, a quicker rhythm. They felt louder than the gentle hum of ordinary thought. And even now, in this calm hour, I sense their outline, though softer than before. Lord, I bring each of these louder noises into your presence. I do not rush past them. I let them stand for a moment in the open space between us. I let them be named fully, without exaggeration, without denial, simply honest, simple, true. Outside, a distant wind moves through unseen branches, stronger than the earlier breeze. I hear a low sweeping sound, a steady rush that rises and fades, It mirrors how these louder emotions moved through my day, surging at times, then receding, never entirely constant, but noticeable, tangible. I remember a specific moment when my patience thinned, when my words felt close to sharpness. I held them back, but the inner strain remained. I carry that memory now with humility. I do not condemn myself. I simply acknowledge the strain that was there, the effort it took to remain steady, the energy it required. Jesus. I felt inadequate at times today, not dramatically, but quietly, a subtle doubt that whispered I was not enough, not prepared enough, not strong enough. That doubt had a louder tone than I realized. It pulsed beneath certain decisions, colored certain conversations. I name it now: inadequacy, self-questioning, uncertainty. There was also urgency, the sense that time was slipping, that tasks were stacking, that I had to move quickly to keep up. That urgency tightened my muscles, quickened my pulse, narrowed my focus. It felt necessary at the time. But now, in this stillness, I see how loud it was, how it crowded out gentler rhythms. Lord, I do not hide these louder noises from you. I do not pretend they were not there. You saw them as they rose. You felt the shift in my breath. You knew the tension in my chest, and you remained calm. Even when I was not, you were not startled by my frustration, not alarmed by my worry, not disappointed by my doubt. The night sky beyond the window is now deep and wide. No trace of daylight remains, only a vast dark canopy stretching in silent strength. I sense how the vastness of this night dwarfs the loudness of my earlier concerns. They seemed so large in the moment. Yet here, in this expansive quiet, they feel smaller, less consuming. Jesus. I lay these louder concerns before you, the expectations that weighed on me, the frustrations that flared, the doubts that whispered, the urgency that pressed. I do not analyze them further. I simply present them, open-handed, trusting that you receive them without judgment. I feel a subtle easing already, as though naming them has lessened their volume, as though bringing them into your light has softened their edge. They are still present, but they no longer dominate. They sit quietly now, less sharp, less insistent. Lord, I remember that your peace is deeper than my understanding, not fragile, not dependent on perfect circumstances. It does not shatter when pressure rises. It remains steady, like bedrock beneath shifting sand. I lean toward that steadiness now, away from the sharp tones of earlier hours. There were words spoken to me that lingered longer than they should have, comments that brushed against sensitive places. I felt their sting briefly. I carried their echo longer than I intended. I bring those words to you now. I release their lingering resonance into your care. I do not replay them again. I allow them to fade. The distant wind has quieted again, replaced by an almost complete stillness. It feels as though the world itself is pausing, resting between breaths. I mirror that pause. I allow a long, quiet moment within, not forcing silence, but welcoming it. Jesus. The louder noises are losing their strength, not because I have solved them, but because I have brought them to you. They no longer circle as urgently. They no longer demand immediate answers. In your presence, they soften, they slow, they settle. I sense my shoulders lowering further, my hands resting more loosely. Even my thoughts about these concerns feel less charged, as though their intensity has gently drained away. I realize that I do not have to carry them into the night. I do not have to guard them while I sleep. You remain awake, watchful, steady. Lord, I trust that you hold tomorrow as surely as you held today. I trust that what felt loud and overwhelming earlier is not beyond your wisdom, not beyond your strength. I place the louder layers of this day into your capable hands, and I feel their weight shift away from me, toward you. The room feels deeper now, quieter than before, as though the very air has thickened with calm. I remain seated in this dim light, aware that something within me has grown less tense, less braced. The louder noises have been named, acknowledged. offered, and they no longer fill the space. Jesus, I stay here with you, breathing in this widening hush, allowing the echoes to continue fading, trusting that with each passing moment, the volume decreases, the edges blur, the urgency dissolves, and I am left with a gentler awareness, a calmer center, a quieter heart. Jesus, as the stronger currents subside, I begin to notice the softer undercurrents that linger beneath them, the quieter noises that do not shout, yet remain present. Subtle threads of unease woven so finely into my thoughts that I almost overlook them. They do not demand attention, they simply hover, low and constant, like a faint mist over still water. I sit with you and allow these gentler stirrings to come into view, not dramatic, not urgent, but steady in their quiet persistence. There is a background anxiety that hums beneath the surface, not tied to one single event, just a general sense of needing to stay alert, as though something might require me at any moment. It kept me slightly braced throughout the day. Even during calm moments, I did not fully relax. I remained subtly prepared, subtly guarded. I feel that low vigilance even now, a faint readiness that has not yet dissolved. Lord, I notice small restless thoughts drifting in and out, unfinished plans, minor tasks I did not complete, details I meant to revisit. They are not heavy, yet they create a soft stirring, like leaves shifting gently along the ground, not loud enough to disturb the night, but enough to remind me they are there. There is also a quiet desire to have done more, to have been more attentive, more efficient, more present. It is not harsh criticism, just a soft leaning toward improvement. Yet even that gentle leaning can create a subtle tension, a sense that the day was not fully enough. I bring that whisper to you now. I let it be heard without exaggeration. The room has grown cooler still, a delicate chill resting lightly along my arms. I pull the blanket closer around me, feeling its steady warmth gather near my chest. And I notice how that warmth slowly spreads, easing the slight tension I had not fully recognized. The physical comfort mirrors an inner comfort beginning to form. Jesus. There are tiny irritations too, so small I almost dismiss them. A delay that unsettled me. A response that felt slightly off. A minor inconvenience that lingered longer than it should have. These small fragments drift quietly through my awareness, and I see how even the smallest disturbance can leave a trace. I sense a faint comparison that passed through my mind today, a fleeting glance at someone else's progress, someone else's strength, and a subtle question about my own pace. It was not loud, but it was there, a brief narrowing of perspective. I acknowledge it gently, without shame, without defense. Lord, these quieter noises are like background static, not overpowering, yet constant enough to shape my inner atmosphere. I did not pause long enough earlier to notice them fully. But here, in this deepening night, I see them more clearly, and I bring them into your stillness. Outside, the sky is vast and nearly seamless now, the stars steady and patient, no rush in their shining, no strain in their presence. They simply remain, constant, unhurried. I let that image settle into my awareness, and I sense how much my own pace could soften, how much my inner movement could slow. Jesus. I realize that part of my restlessness comes from carrying small unfinished threads, thinking I must hold them all until tomorrow, fearing I might forget something important. Yet you hold what I cannot remember. You see what I overlook. You guard what I cannot fully manage. I do not have to maintain silent vigilance through the night. You remain watchful when I sleep. There is a subtle fear of falling behind, a quiet concern that time moves faster than I can keep pace. It whispers softly, urging me to stay alert, to stay ready, to stay slightly tense. I bring that whisper to you now. I allow it to dissolve in the awareness that you stand outside of time, steady, unhurried, sovereign over every tomorrow. Lord, I notice how my fingers rest more loosely now, how my breathing has deepened without effort, The gentle act of naming these quieter layers has thinned their hold. They no longer swirl unnoticed. They no longer define the background of my mind. They are simply present, acknowledged, and slowly easing. There is a faint desire for affirmation, a quiet hope that I was seen, appreciated, valued today. It is not a demand, just a small human longing. I lift that longing to you, knowing that in your gaze I am fully seen, fully known, fully loved, not because of achievement, not because of flawless performance, but simply because I am yours. Jesus, I sense the subtle fatigue that comes not from physical exertion alone, but from constant inner motion, the steady monitoring, the evaluating, the adjusting. It is a gentle weariness, and I bring that too into your presence. Trusting that you offer rest even for the unseen labor of the mind. The stillness in this room feels deeper than before, almost velvety, wrapping softly around every surface. Even the shadows seem calm, not ominous, not heavy, just quiet, resting in their place. I allow that same resting to unfold within me, layer by layer. Lord, I recognize how often I carry subtle tensions without noticing. How I adapt to low-level anxiety until it feels normal. Yet here, in this sacred hush, I see the difference between constant alertness and true peace. Your peace does not strain. It does not brace. It simply settles, like gentle snow covering uneven ground, smoothing every ridge. I feel the background static thinning, like a faint signal fading into silence. Not abruptly, but gradually. The minor tasks, the small comparisons, the subtle irritations, they lose their color. They drift farther from center. They no longer feel like threads I must hold tightly. Jesus, you are my refuge in the quiet hours, not only from loud storms, but from the barely audible tensions that linger beneath daily life. You invite me into a rest deeper than surface calm, a rest that reaches the hidden layers of vigilance and soft striving. I sense a widening space inside my chest, as though something has gently opened, creating room for a slower rhythm. I did not realize how narrowly I had been holding myself, how guarded even in calm moments. Now, that guard eases, that readiness softens. Lord, the quieter noises are nearly gone. Not because I forced them away, but because your presence has absorbed them, like morning light dissolving faint mist. They fade without struggle, without resistance, simply dissolving in steady warmth. I remain here with you, noticing how much softer my inner world feels. Less layered with static, less woven with low tension. The night outside remains still and wide, and within me, that same stillness spreads, gently, steadily, until even the faintest background hum grows thin and nearly silent. Jesus, now that the softer layers have thinned, I sense deeper currents beneath them. Not loud, not restless, but tender, hidden places where quieter wounds have lingered longer than I realized. Places where my own voice has not always been kind. Where self-judgment whispered steadily through the hours. I turn toward those deeper murmurs with you, slowly, reverently, as though stepping into a dim sanctuary where honesty feels sacred. There were moments today when I measured myself too strictly, when I replayed a small mistake and allowed it to define more than it should. I spoke inwardly with a sharper tone than I would ever use towards someone I love. That inner criticism did not shout. It did not rage. It simply persisted, a low commentary questioning whether I had done enough, been enough, responded well enough. Lord, I bring that voice into your presence now, the one that narrows my view of myself, the one that forgets grace. I do not silence it by force. I simply place it in the warmth of your gaze, and already it feels less certain, less justified. There's also a deeper doubt that sometimes rests quietly beneath my confidence, a subtle fear that I might disappoint, that I might not fulfill what has been entrusted to me. It surfaces gently, not dramatic, but steady, influencing my choices more than I notice. I see it now, and I name it softly. Fear of falling short, fear of not being steady enough. The room is almost entirely dark now. Only the faintest glow remains along one wall, like a thin ribbon of light resting low and calm. The dimness feels protective, not empty, just serene, as though the world has drawn a soft veil around this hour. I allow myself to sink deeper into that serenity, trusting it. Jesus, there are unspoken fears too, subtle anxieties about what I cannot control, about outcomes beyond my influence, about changes I sense but cannot shape. They are not urgent tonight, but they linger like distant clouds along a horizon. I do not chase them away. I simply acknowledge their presence, and I bring them close to you. I notice how my chest rises and falls more gently now, how the rhythm has steadied without effort, and I realize how often self-doubt disrupts that rhythm, how criticism tightens breath, narrows thought, constricts ease. Here, with you, that constriction begins to loosen. Lord, I lay down the need to be flawless, the pressure to anticipate every outcome, the expectation that I must carry every answer. I release the illusion of control, the quiet belief that everything depends solely on me. It does not. You hold what I cannot hold. You sustain what I cannot sustain. There were silent comparisons I did not speak aloud, subtle glances at where others stand. Where I stand, measuring distances that were never meant to be measured, I see now how that comparison dims gratitude, how it shifts focus from calling to competition. I place that habit gently in your hands, and I feel its weight lessen. Jesus, I confess the hidden fear of being unseen in my efforts, the quiet longing for reassurance, the subtle ache of wondering if I am moving in the right direction. These are not dramatic fears, but they hum beneath daily life, shaping my pace, influencing my tone. I bring them into this stillness, and I allow your steady love to meet them. The darkness in the room feels complete now, smooth and enveloping, yet not oppressive. It feels like a calm sea at night, wide and undisturbed. I sense how your presence fills even this darkness, not with noise, but with gentle assurance. You are near, even when nothing is visible, even when certainty feels thin. Lord, I release the habit of rehearsing future conversations, of predicting outcomes, of bracing for possible disappointment. I lay down the quiet tension that tries to prepare for every scenario. I am not required to foresee tomorrow. I am invited only to rest tonight. I feel the pillow beneath my head now, cool and steady, supporting without demand, and I sense how your everlasting arms support me in the same quiet way. Not intrusive, not dramatic, simply present, holding me beneath even when I am unaware. I allow my head to rest more fully, trusting that support. Jesus, I surrender the deeper noise of self-reliance, the belief that I must carry every burden alone, the subtle pride that resists asking for help. I confess how easily I lean on my own understanding first, how quickly I forget to entrust my concerns to you. Tonight, I choose trust over control, surrender over striving. I notice how much lighter my chest feels, how the tension behind my eyes has softened. Even my thoughts move more slowly now, like gentle clouds drifting across a wide sky. No urgency, no sharp edges, just quiet motion. Lord, I release the hidden shame attached to small failures, the tendency to replay them longer than necessary. You are not counting my missteps with impatience. You are guiding me with compassion. Your correction is gentle. Your mercy renews itself continually. I rest in that mercy now. There is a quiet courage rising as I lay these deeper fears down. Not boldness, not intensity, just a steady assurance that I do not walk alone, that my worth is not fragile, that my future is not solely dependent on my strength. I feel that assurance settling like a calm foundation beneath my thoughts. Jesus, I surrender the need to prove myself, to earn approval, to secure outcomes by constant vigilance. I allow myself to simply be known, loved, sustained. I trust that while I sleep, you remain awake, watching over my life with wisdom beyond my understanding. The night feels expansive now, almost luminous in its calm, as though silence itself has become a shelter. I breathe within that shelter, and I sense how the deeper noise has quieted, not vanished by effort, but softened by surrender. Lord, I lay down self-criticism. I lay down doubt. I lay down unspoken fear. I lay down the quiet burdens I carried without naming. And in their place, I feel space, open, gentle, steady. I remain here, resting in that openness, aware that something profound has shifted. The deeper currents have stilled, the hidden tensions have eased, and in their absence, your quiet presence fills the room, fills my heart, steady, warm, faithful. Jesus. In the spacious quiet that remains, I begin to sense something new unfolding. Not the absence of noise alone, but the gentle arrival of your peace. Warm, steady, unhurried. It does not rush in. It settles gradually, like soft light spreading across a still meadow before dawn. Though it is night, I feel a dawn within. I do not strain to receive it. I simply notice it, the way my breathing grows even slower, the way my muscles release their final guardedness, the way my thoughts rest without effort. Your peace is not fragile. It does not flicker. It holds, calm and constant. Lord, this peace is deeper than explanation, deeper than logic. It does not require that every question be answered. It does not depend on resolved tension. It simply is, steady beneath uncertainty, solid beneath shifting circumstance. I feel it now like a gentle current flowing under still water, unseen, yet sustaining everything above it. The air in the room feels almost weightless, smooth against my skin. The earlier coolness has blended with warmth from the blanket wrapped around me, creating a balanced comfort, neither sharp nor heavy, just right. I sense that same balance forming within my heart, not overly emotional, not detached, simply steady. Jesus, I feel gathered, as though scattered pieces have been drawn inward, aligned softly in your presence. There is no rush in this gathering, no urgency, only a quiet completion, like pages of a book resting neatly together after being turned all day. I notice how even the silence has changed. It no longer feels like an emptiness. It feels full, alive with gentle assurance, as though your spirit moves through it like a soft melody too subtle for the ear yet clear to the soul. I rest in that melody, letting it hum beneath my awareness. Lord, I receive this peace without striving. I do not question whether I deserve it. I do not measure its depth. I simply allow it to cover me, like a calm sea holding a floating leaf without effort, supporting without strain. There is a warmth spreading slowly from the center of my chest outward. Not intense, not overwhelming, just steady and kind. It softens the last faint edges of tension. It smooths what remains of inner resistance. I did not create this peace. I could not manufacture it. It flows from you, freely, generously. Jesus, I remember that you invite the weary to find rest in you, not temporary distraction, not shallow relief, but deep rest, the kind that reaches the hidden places. I feel that depth now, settling gently in the places that once held doubt, calming the spaces that once braced for pressure. The night beyond the window is utterly still. No wind, no movement, just vast quiet stretching without end. I sense that same vastness opening within me, a wide interior sky unclouded by worry, spacious and serene. I did not know my heart could feel this wide. Lord, your presence feels like steady arms beneath me, supporting without visible effort. I do not fear sinking. I do not fear losing control. I feel held, secure, anchored in something far stronger than circumstance. The ground beneath my thoughts feels firm, reliable, unshaken. I notice how my eyelids grow heavier, not from exhaustion alone, but from safety, from knowing I do not need to remain alert. You watch over my rest. You guard my sleep with attentive love. I do not carry the night alone. You remain wakeful even as I drift. Jesus, your peace moves gently through memory, touching even earlier moments of strain and bathing them in quiet understanding. What once felt sharp now feels distant, softened by perspective, embraced by grace. I realize that your peace does not erase the day. It transforms how it rests within me. The blanket around me feels like a soft embrace, steady and constant. It reminds me that your care surrounds me on every side. Before me, behind me, beneath me, above me. There is nowhere I fall outside of your attention, nowhere I slip beyond your reach. Lord, I surrender fully into this calm. I no longer hold back. I no longer brace. I let my body sink deeper into rest. I let my mind drift without resistance, trusting that your spirit keeps gentle watch over every part of me. The rhythm of my heartbeat feels slow and even now, like a quiet drum in a peaceful valley. Steady, assured, it no longer quickens with thought. It simply continues, calm and faithful. I sense that rhythm aligning with the quiet rhythm of your presence. Jesus, there is no striving here, no proving, no planning, only being held, being loved, being known. I feel small in the best way, not diminished, but sheltered, like a child resting without fear under watchful care. The darkness in the room no longer feels dark. It feels soft, like velvet draped gently across the edges of light, comforting, peaceful. I do not long for brightness. This gentle dimness feels perfectly suited for rest, perfectly suited for peace. Lord, even my thoughts now seem to float rather than move, drifting slowly across a wide, calm sky. They no longer carry weight. They no longer press for resolution. They simply pass, light and quiet. I sense that your peace has settled into every layer I uncovered earlier. The louder worries, the softer anxieties, the deeper doubts, all touched by this steady calm, not forced away, but gently hushed, like waves smoothing themselves along a silent shore. Jesus, I remain here in this warmth, this stillness, this unwavering assurance. I receive it fully, gratefully, humbly. I know this peace does not depend on perfect days. It flows from your constant presence, and that presence remains. I rest deeper now, aware that the noise has thinned to almost nothing, aware that my heart feels lighter, more open, more at ease. Your peace surrounds me, fills me, steadies me, and I remain quietly held. Within it, Jesus. I feel myself resting more deeply now, as though I have drifted farther from the shoreline of the day and into a wide, gentle stillness. The earlier movements of thought feel distant, almost like faint ripples far behind me. Here, where I am with you, the water is smooth, undisturbed, quietly luminous beneath a calm night sky. I lie here and sense the mattress supporting every curve of my body, steady, uncomplaining, strong beneath softness. I let my weight settle fully into it, no longer holding myself upright, no longer bracing as though something might require me. I allow gravity to do its quiet work, and in that yielding, I feel an echo of yielding within my soul. Lord, this deeper rest feels sacred, not dramatic, not emotional, just steady and sure. Like a low, constant glow within my chest, I am no longer analyzing the day, no longer naming its layers. I am simply here, resting in the nearness that remains. The house is silent now. Even the faint background sounds have faded. It feels as though the entire world has exhaled and paused, waiting in stillness. I join that pause. I do not rush to fill it. I let it expand, wide and gentle. Jesus, I sense your presence not as a concept, but as a quiet reality, like a steady warmth along my side, like a calm breath moving in rhythm with mine. I do not strain to feel you. I simply know you are here. Faithful, attentive, tender. My hands rest loosely against the blanket, fingers no longer curled with unconscious tension. My jaw hangs softly, my brow smooth. I feel the small muscles of my face surrendering into rest, and I realize how often they carry the imprint of thought. of concern, of subtle effort. Tonight, they are free. Lord, this rest feels like being cradled in gentle silence, not empty silence, but silence alive with care. I remember that sleep itself is a gift from you, a holy surrender, a trusting release of control. I accept that gift now without resistance, without lingering hesitation. The darkness behind my closed eyes feels vast yet peaceful, not heavy, not pressing, just calm and endless, like a soft horizon stretching beyond what I can measure. I sense that my thoughts have slowed to a quiet drift, no longer forming sharp lines, no longer organizing themselves into plans, just gentle impressions passing lightly through awareness. Jesus, I trust you with this night. I trust you with my home, with those I love, with the paths I will walk tomorrow. I do not hold them tightly in my mind anymore. I place them in your steady keeping, knowing that your watch does not falter, your care does not sleep. There is a tenderness in this moment, a sweetness in simply being held by peace. I feel no urgency, no internal demand, no subtle pressure to improve or prepare. Only calm presence, only steady love, Lord. I feel the quiet rhythm of my breathing, in and out, slow and even. Each breath a soft reminder that I am sustained without striving, that life flows through me by your design, not by my constant effort. I rest in that design, content, secure. The night seems to wrap around me like a gentle shawl, light and warm, sheltering me from the sharpness of the day. I sense how completely the earlier noise has dissolved, not through force, but through surrender. It is no longer echoing, no longer humming. Only stillness remains. Jesus. In this deeper rest, I feel childlike trust rising, simple and unguarded. I do not need to understand everything. I do not need to foresee every outcome. I am safe in your care, secure beneath your steady gaze, upheld by strength greater than mine. My thoughts now are few, spaced far apart, floating slowly like soft clouds across a moonlit sky. I do not follow them. I let them pass, returning again and again to the quiet awareness of you, near, constant, kind. Lord, I sense your faithful love surrounding me tonight, not distant, not abstract, but present and attentive. You delight in giving rest to the weary. You rejoice over your children with quiet love. I feel that love like a soft covering, gentle and sure. Even the memory of earlier strain feels remote, like something that happened long ago. It no longer stirs emotion. It no longer calls for response. It rests in the past, and I rest in the present, fully, peacefully. Jesus, my body grows heavier now, not with burden, but with comfort, like sinking slowly into calm waters that hold without fear. I release the last faint threads of awareness that try to rise. I let them settle back down, into quiet, into trust. The silence feels complete, whole, undisturbed. I am aware of nothing pressing, nothing pulling, nothing demanding, only the gentle rhythm of rest unfolding naturally, steadily, kindly. Lord, I remain in this peaceful nearness, allowing sleep to approach without resistance. Without hesitation, I do not cling to wakefulness. I do not guard the threshold. I trust the one who watches through the night. Jesus, as I drift closer to sleep, I feel gratitude rise one more time, soft and sincere. Thank you for this calm. Thank you for this steady peace. Thank you for staying near through every hour, and for holding me now. My heart feels quiet. My body feels light. My thoughts are barely whispers now. I drift slowly, gently, securely, wrapped in your perfect peace. Thank you, Jesus. The noise is gone now. My heart is quiet. My body is light. I drift, securely, in your perfect peace. Amen.